welcome to the Straight Out BS podcast. Thank you guys for your continued support. Thank you to my Patreon members and anybody that helps support the podcast in any way. I really appreciate you. Thank you for interacting with the video. If you do that, it really helps the algorithm. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with addiction or intrusive thoughts. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Okay, my name's Allison Taylor. I went to Crosscreek Manor and Tranquility. Honestly, my timeline is a little messed up, especially because I kind of bounced back and forth between Crosscreek Manor in Utah and Jamaica. So I know I was there a total of 2 years. I went in towards the end of 2002 and got out around 2004.
Okay. And walk us through what was going on, what, like, your childhood and what led up to you being sent to the program.
Before that, my dad had sent me away at the age of 9 to like a religious school, which he was really strict since we were little. So I really didn't mind the religious school because honestly, I didn't have to be there with him, and they weren't, abusive like they were in the programs. And but it's not the same as being at home. I wanted ultimately to be with my mother, and my grandfather was a lawyer and made sure that she had no rights basically to us at all. And I was kind of acting out so that he would send me back to live with her, but it didn't really work out that way.
Okay. And did you get transported, or did your parents bring you up there? Walk us through what happened with that.
I did get transported. I have really good gut instincts, so I just had a feeling. I had heard people say some things about me getting sent away again, and then I just had a really bad feeling about that night, and so I ran away the night I got transported. But he came and picked me up out of my boyfriend's house and brought me back to our house in Washington. And my brother came in my room instead of the escorts, which I am thankful for, and kind of told me what was going on and that they were going to, take me. And so I wasn't asleep or anything. Like I know some people get woke up in the middle of the night and stuff. So didn't really work out exactly like that. But I did have a transport service take me in.
Okay. And what do you remember about when you first got there? Do you remember them giving you any sort of physical rule manual? Do you remember them buddying you up with somebody? What happened when you first got there?
Yes, I had a buddy. I got almost immediately sent to Jamaica because I was 12 years old and I just kind of shut down. It was a lot to, take in. And they put me in isolation because I refused to get out of bed the first morning there. And tried to get me to go back down to worksheets. And I had met Ron Garrett, the one who runs Cross Creek. And I was just like horrified by the things that were coming out of that man's mouth. And I just wanted nothing to do with him or that program. So they kept threatening, like they do, to send me to the one in Jamaica. And I was like, I don't care. I was a runner, so I had plans to kind of try to run away in the airport. And yeah, obviously it worked out, but
and how long were you there at Cross Creek before they sent you to Jamaica?
Probably about a month.
Okay. And did they go ahead?
Almost all the time in isolation.
What was that?
Spent almost all that time in isolation.
Okay. Okay. And did they have you go through any seminars before they sent you to Jamaica?
No, I ended up going through the seminars in Jamaica twice.
Okay. What do you remember about when you went to Jamaica? How did you get there? Did you know that you were going? What did they tell you about? Did they because for me, when they threatened me with Jamaica, they were like, if you keep fucking off, essentially, not those words, but if he keeps screwing around, then we're just gonna send you to Jamaica, and your parents have already signed away their rights. So how was it for you?
Yeah, pretty much. They threatened me a lot, and I don't know. In a way, I didn't believe them. Like, I didn't believe it was going to be as bad as they said it was. And they tried to have upper levels come in that had been to Jamaica and basically say, like, you don't know what you're doing to yourself and you don't want to go there and that sort of thing. But I don't know. I don't like to be threatened. I'm still like that. Like, if you're going to threaten me, I'm like, go ahead.
Okay. And so how did you get there?
The same people who transported me from my home in Washington came and picked me up. It was real weird. I remember them putting like a jacket over my head and taking me out the back door and stuff.
Okay. What do you remember about when you first got to Jamaica?
It was a different world for sure. Like, I know at the program in Utah, we weren't supposed to talk, but people still talked, or you could talk to certain levels. And in Jamaica, it's just, I remember when I got picked up there, when I finally did leave, my dad's girlfriend at the time said how quiet the whole entire facility was. Like, you would have never known there were hundreds of teenagers there, because it's just, you can hear a pin drop and it's like an eerie silence.
Okay. And did they have you speak another language right off the bat?
No, they spoke patois, which is really hard to understand when you first get there. And you kind of just have to figure out what they're saying, or you get consequence after consequence.
Okay, but they didn't force you to learn the language, or you kind of had to learn what was going on, right?
Had to learn it. It's really, it's patois broken English, so it's more like a thing you just adapt to. We never spoke it ourselves, and they understood English. We were allowed to speak it.
Okay. And what seminars did you go through when you were in Jamaica? And how long after you got to Jamaica did you get put through your first seminar?
Discovery and focus. The first time that I went through those, and then they had me go to like accountability meetings, even though I never made any levels. I stayed on level 1 throughout the whole process. But how long was I there? Probably about a month. And I was in isolation. I remember when I first got there, I got sent to isolation because I was like only 12 years old, and I just like sat down on the ground in the wash area where everyone washes their clothes and just started crying. And so they put me in isolation for that, and pulled me out of isolation and into the seminar, which was just, I don't know, it was a lot to take in.
Okay. What do you remember? Do you remember your I am statement?
I'm a strong, independent, what was it? Remember that? Compassionate young woman.
Okay. And what was your stretch?
I had two because I went through them twice. And the first one, it was like the elements, like it was weird. It was one that I had saw in some of the other seminars, but they had someone as water, I was Mother Earth, and another student was fire, and we had to, get up and dance and just like those elements and stuff.
Okay. And how many people would you say were there when you got there to Jamaica? You had to make an estimation.
On the boy side, I don't know, because we had very little interaction with the male side, so probably 125 girls. There was about 25 per family. There was originally 4 families, and then they created another one while I was there, Wisdom Family.
Okay. And how long were you in Jamaica?
Like I said, actively I was there 2 years, and then I spent a month in Cross Creek, and then they pulled me and put me back in Cross Creek for another month or so before they just pulled me all together and let me come home to my mom's house.
Okay, so wait, let me see if I got this correct. Cross Creek, Jamaica, Cross Creek, went home, went back to Cross Creek. Is that
Oh, I never went back after that.
okay?
I went with my mom, who is not a program supporter, so I am really grateful for that. My sister actually got online. That's why I have so much respect for everything that you guys are doing and, getting the word out there, because my sister like looked the place up, and her and my mom were every day on the computer, trying to find out the kind of abuse that happened in places to get me out of there.
Okay. And were you on any prescription medications before you got sent to Cross Creek? And if so, did they keep you on the prescriptions, load you up with more, or take you off of them, or were you not on any prescriptions?
I was on ADD medication when I got sent there. And then when I got there, they pretty much said, ADD's fake. You're using that as an excuse. Take accountability. And no, I never got any kind of medication.
Okay. Was there? Did you hear about or witness or experience any sexual abuse or grooming from any of the staff members or other students?
No. And oddly enough, they threatened in Cross Creek. That was something they said about Jamaica all the time, that, you were going to get sexually abused once we send you there, which is really a horrible thing to say. But um, when I got there, none of the male staff were allowed on the female side. I know other girls, though, that have, there was a doctor who was a male that they would go and see, like, alone in their office. And I've heard things about that, but I never personally saw that doctor or had anything like that happen to me.
Okay. And what was the hardest part for you about being in these places, and how did you deal with it?
Being away from my family, for sure. Like my mom and, that side of my family, especially. Losing my siblings. And even to this day, our relationship's not the same, I feel like, as it would have been had I got to grow up with them and that sort of thing.
Okay. And so you got pulled, right, by your mom?
Well, my dad called me when I was in Cross Creek and said I was a financial heartbreak because that place has cost him so much money. And I told him they can do whatever they want with you. He said that I was going to go to a group home and all this. And then I was almost all the way to Ohio, and I was looking at the plane tickets, and I'm like, I'm going to Ohio. That means I'm going to my mom's house. And finally, the people who were transporting me were like, yes, you're going to go live with your mom. I was really excited.
Okay. Did they try and set you up with any sort of life contract before you went home to follow?
No, because I was going home to a non-program supporter. They just basically said, you will die. You're going to be hooked on drugs. You're going to, like, there was nothing good in my future because I was choosing to leave the program.
Okay. And did you get any school credits while you were there? Did any of them transfer? Did you do anything when you were there?
I did some. That was one of my forms of rebellion. My dad is a doctor. So, and to this day, he'll say the main reason he sent me there was because I had like not very good grades, C's and D's and stuff. And so my way of rebelling against him was, this place's education sucks, so I'm not gonna do school. Plus I still have ADD, so that makes it difficult when you don't have a teacher or someone to help you concentrate. I did have some upper levels. There was one upper level in particular who was an 18-year-old who tutored me and helped me a lot. I had really high grades in science because I've always just enjoyed science. Um, I did, and then when I got back to my mom's house, my dad still wouldn't release custody to her. So I only got to go to school for about 6 months, and then I had to get my GED. And I did do really well on that. So I don't think it's ever an intelligence issue.
What was the last part?
I don't think it was ever an intelligence issue.
Okay. And so what happened after you got back from the program?
I moved in with my mom, and just pretty much Ohio is a lot different. So you know, it took some getting adjusted to. I not a lot really. I did go to school here for about 6 months. They let me go until they realized they didn't have custody papers. Um, but yeah, things were as normal as they could have been after what I'd been through, I guess.
Okay. Did you ever struggle with any hard drugs or addiction or anything like that?
No, and one of the things I got sent there for was smoking marijuana, and I still smoked when I got out, and that was, you know, the hardest thing I really ever got into.
Okay. What was the worst thing you heard about or saw when in either of these places? And was there anything positive about your experience? And it's fine if there isn't.
Um, oh, they kept one girl in isolation for like 8 months, like a really, really long time, and she got really thin and pale, and it was just hard to see. She was a beautiful girl too. The pink eye epidemic when I was there was pretty bad. I was in a room which was really hot for almost a month before we got medication. And they kept telling us to put these rags over our eyes, which my dad's a doctor. I knew. I'm like, it grows in warm, moist places. Like you're just making it worse. Then you got to get us some medication. And they did eventually get medication, but it took a long time.
Okay.
But usually I couldn't see the whites of my eyes. Like I still have issues with my eyes because of that. They're like hypersensitive.
Okay. And nothing positive about your experience?
Mm, there were some staff that I feel I learned from. Jamaica was an exception in a way because there wasn't a lot of jobs, so not everybody. Some people were there honestly just to make a check and didn't treat us horrible, but there were less staff that were nice and caring than there were staff who were mean and abusive, in my opinion.
Okay. And if you could go back in a time machine and not go through these places knowing what you know now, would you do it and why?
Um, I don't know if I could go back and make sure they never existed, but in a lot of ways, it made me who I am today. And I am a person who is willing to, you know, stand up and fight for the people that are still going through it. So I guess if someone had to go through it, it might as well be me.
Okay. And how's your relationship with your parents? Have they watched the program? Have you watched the program? Have you tried talking to them about how this place affected you?
Um, yes, and no. Um, there, my dad will never watch the program. He'll never apologize for that. If I ask for any kind of help, he'll say no because I didn't graduate the program and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I don't see him ever watching that or being compassionate in any way. Um, my mom, she wants to watch it, and I've told her about it, but I think it's just really hard for her, you know. And she didn't send me there. She never wanted me there, so I don't hold her accountable for it in any way.
Okay.
I have teenage kids. Oh, speaking of which, they made something for the podcast. My one daughter, who's 13, is really into art and stuff, and she drew a really cool picture. But they're really super supportive. And I do think that's another thing why I say sometimes I am kind of glad that I went through that because it helps me to relate to my kids and the stuff they're going through. And I feel like makes me a better mom because I know not what not to do.
Have you told them about what you went through?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a really open relationship with my kids, and they're really good kids. They get good grades, and
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for better children. So
What do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away?
well, for me to go, obviously, to come live with my mom, because that's what I wanted to begin with. I did have a learning disability, so having medication for that probably would have helped me as a child. And just I was kind of raised by nannies and stuff. Just having, like, I preferred it to be my mom, but really, if I would have had any kind of supportive adult figure in my life, that would have helped a lot.
Okay. And yeah, do you have that picture? Because I want to see it. Do they have it?
I think I left it in the bedroom. Can I run and get it real quick?
That's fine.
Sorry about that.
No, no problem.
Okay, so my 13-year-old daughter drew this.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
And she's very supportive of the whole survivor community. So
That's awesome.
yeah. I really also, there's also people who have the really supportive partners and kids, and seeing everybody step up and support the cause is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. What was your experience of in an intervention in study hall?
I would never do like I with the whole ADD thing. I would just usually end up sending myself to isolation because I couldn't handle like worksheets. And I did do worksheets in Jamaica a few times. Like we had book tapes there, and I had all the answers memorized, so you can just fill those out. I do think that study hall in Jamaica, that was one thing that wasn't as bad as the study hall, and they messed with you like your head a lot more, I feel like, at Cross Creek. Like the Jamaican staff weren't really as good at some of the emotional manipulation. They were more physically abusive, but they were really good at that at Cross Creek, and they would just sit and mess with you or like write the same sentences over and over again. And so I just wouldn't participate. That was from day one. I was like, you can put me in isolation, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay. And did you ever try and run?
No, I didn't. I on my first day saw someone else try to run, and it didn't work out very well for them. So even though prior to that I had been a runner, actually at the Christian boarding school, I had started dating the dean's son, and we had plans to run away from there. And so yeah, I'm surprised I never did, but no, I didn't.
Okay. And what was the stupidest thing you got a consequence for?
I spent about a month in OP for popping a pimple.
Did they give you a self-inflict?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they called my parents it was self-inflict, which, with the atmosphere in Jamaica, like I was a teenager, and it sucks. It's not gonna help, the acne and stuff sucks for a kid that age, and it is painful. So really, it was probably worse to, inflicted more pain on me to just leave it alone at that point. But I don't know, it was crazy.
Okay. And is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Don't. Like, it's the most emotionally damaging thing you could ever do in the name of therapy.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you ever want to do a part 2, just take some notes and let me know, and we'll make it happen.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem. And if you guys have watched this far in the video, please make sure you like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment down below. It really helps the algorithm. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.